Welcome back to State of the Frogs with your head coach, Sonny Dykes. Coach, we're fresh off a heartbreaking loss at Baylor, the dramatic ones, the ones we usually see down there, the last-minute field goals. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough way to end the game. A good football game. Two teams played really hard. Baylor was probably playing about as well as anybody in the league the last couple of weeks. They had a big win against Oklahoma State, and then went to Lubbock and put it on Texas Tech pretty good. So they had a lot of confidence, and they were playing well. The quarterback was really kind of starting to come into his own. And, this is one of those games that we talked to our players about it going in. We thought it would really come down to the team that turned the ball over, which neither team did. We had opportunities to intercept a couple of balls. Got the quarterback to fumble once, and it bounced right back to him. We did a really good job offensively of taking care of the ball. And the difference in a lot of these Big 12 games, you look at our game the week before against Texas Tech, they're driving to try to kick a game-winning field goal, and we create a turnover. And we weren't able to do that, didn't get off the field on a fourth down right there, that if we stop them there, then, we're throwing two passes and hopefully lining up to kick a game winner. And so, these games kind of boil down to one or two key plays, and the week before against Tech, we made them, and this week we didn't. So, Baylor, I thought, really played well, and like I said, they didn't turn the ball over, and ran the football well. And we got a little bit beat up on our defensive front, and lost Marcus Steele during the week, and lost Akeem, early in the game, and so had to play some young players up there, and maybe some guys that we didn't want them to get their first experience playing in a game like that. But but proud of the way the guys played. It was we played hard. We played well enough to win. Like I said, we just didn't get it done down the stretch.
For sure, plenty of positives to highlight. And you touched on one of them, turnovers. Earlier in the season, this was an issue, and suddenly the last couple of weeks, turnovers seems to be something you've corrected. And is that fair to say?
Well, we hope so. I mean, we certainly have worked really hard to get that fixed. Had a couple the week before against Tech, but when we don't turn the ball over offensively, we can score points, and that's going to be important for us. To do that week in and week out. You got to be able to score in the Big 12 to win. And so, my hope is that we continue to not turn it over. I thought Josh played his best game probably at TCU. Baylor's a good defense. He's going to show you a lot of different looks, going to try to really confuse you. And he really did a good job of figuring things out, kind of getting settled in, making great decisions with the ball. Never really put the ball in jeopardy. Ran well at times. A couple of run plays that he pulled the ball on and ran and scrambled a couple of times, which gives us a little bit of a different dimension as well. But really made great decisions and threw the ball accurately.
Right. One of the things the national media is talking about, Jordan Bailey's catch. ESPN calls it, one of the best catches of the year. How does that affect the team?
Yeah, good to see Jordan do that. I mean, Jordan's one of those young players that's really talented that just needs to develop some confidence. And it's funny, he's practiced well this week, and I think a big part of that is probably some confidence that he, has as a result of making that play. And so, he's a guy that is going to continue to have a bigger role and continue to grow in our offense moving forward. And so we're excited about him.
And Savion with his first college touchdown pass, I think.
Yeah. As far as I know, it was. He did a really good job on that particular play. It's a 4th and 2 down the goal line. It's a play that we had kind of set up. He had run the football a lot of times, especially on short yardage situations. And Savion did a good job of adjusting on that play. Jack Besh did a good job. Really, the jack is supposed to kind of go out wide and go to the back of the end zone. Well, there was a Baylor player that just happened to be sitting out there, so Jack went inside. Savion did a good job of adjusting and threw the ball up and let Jack make the touchdown catch. So it was a good play, a play that we needed, obviously, and got us back in the game.
Another 2 touchdown performance from Jack Besh, as you mentioned. Guy keeps producing. Yeah,
he did. He thought he played well. Saturday, thought our receiving core caught the ball well, ran pretty good routes, and like I said, Josh was really accurate. So, I like the progress we're making. We just got to continue to score touchdowns. We had to kick 2 field goals, and we got to make sure that when we get down in the red area that we're scoring touchdowns, not kicking field goals.
You mentioned the 2 injuries on the defensive line. Any updates for those guys?
Yeah, I think both of them are probably going to be out this week. Marcus had surgery, and so my guess is, maybe late in the season. It looks like Akeem's probably going to be a couple of weeks as well, so we'll see.
Fair enough. All right, Coach. We'll move on from Baylor. We'll turn the page. We'll come right back on State of the Frogs, your head coach, with Mallory James Mahoney and Student Question of the Week.
What do you see when you look up at the clouds? At Richard's Rainwater, we see the greatest source of pure, delicious water looking right back down at us. We've invented a simple, powerful technology to collect and bottle rainwater. Our process begins with the rain. When clouds become saturated, droplets fall from the sky. Rainfall is a naturally cleansing event. During the first few minutes, the raindrops clean the atmosphere and wash away any dirt or debris from surface areas. At this cleanest point in the rain cycle, we collect the pure raindrops into large storage vessels. Then, we use a simple, yet effective combination of ozone and microfiltration to ensure our rainwater surpasses the highest drinking water standards. We pour the pure, refreshing rainwater into glass bottles and aluminum cans, packaging as infinitely renewable as the water itself. Richards Rainwater is building a network of collection systems across the country to ensure our rainwater is local everywhere. The purest, best-tasting water comes from the sky. Richards Rainwater, sip the sky.
Welcome back to State of the Frogs with your head coach, Sonny Dykes. Coach, the student question comes from Luke, and Mallory James Mahoney will take us away.
Thanks, JW. I'm here with our student question of the week. This is Luke, and he is a finance and accounting major sophomore.
Hey, Coach Dykes. I was wondering if players talk politics at all in the locker room, and I'm wondering what their opinions are due to the importance of this election.
Luke, that's a good question. It's today's election day. It's pretty interesting. A couple of years ago, it seemed like our players were really active in kind of the political arena and having a lot of conversations about this kind of thing. Seems like it's shifted more back to football now. I really haven't heard a lot of our players talking about politics at all, really. It seems like, it's just something that maybe the guys aren't comfortable talking about. Just hadn't come up a whole lot. So, we're all so busy. I didn't really realize it. Last night, Kate said something to me about it, about 10:30 last night, that today was election day. And but it's a busy time of year for us, and I think our players are kind of focused on school and football, and hadn't come up a whole lot.
Is it something I can ask, Coach? Do you have time to even vote? Do you have time for that kind of thing?
Yeah, I went early and voted. Did it a couple weeks ago, and I'm not a real political person. I mean, it's just not my thing. My deal is to kind of support whoever is the president and get behind whatever's going on.
Can't get in trouble doing that, Coach. Thank you, Luke, for the question, and Mallory James Mahoney for setting it up. We'll be right back with some on-campus recruiting with two of the TCU on-campus recruiting directors.
Energy does everything for us. It's all-encompassing.
We're all benefiting and affected from it.
And it is something that we all need to know about.
It is the glue that holds everything together.
TCU is powering what matters, our future.
We don't just talk about what's needed, we focus on results.
The Ralph Lowe Energy Institute is creating a world where energy is affordable, sustainable, and reliable.
Welcome back to State of the Frogs with your head coach, Sonny Dykes. Thank you, Mallory James Mahoney and Luke, for the question. But we have a special guest today, Lauren Craine, Director of On-Campus Recruiting for TCU Football, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us, Lauren.
Thanks for having me.
A couple questions for you so people get a sense of how this whole world works in your mind. What's your day-to-day look like as far as on-campus recruiting?
All right, my day-to-day. So in the fall right now, we are working on our 2025 class. So we are hosting game day recruiting events. We've actually hosted a few official visits, but a lot of it is just communication with these guys that we already have committed, guys that we're trying to get committed. So the 2026 class, we send out a lot of mailers. We're in contact with those guys. We're in contact with our coaches, keeping up with the recruiting boards, and just staying on top of our game day visits that we have coming up. So, yeah.
Is communication with these gentlemen difficult at times? Because I know guys in sports doesn't always make people the most communicative type of people, but is this a difficult task?
Right. So we actually are not usually the ones that contact and reach out to these guys. A lot of our contact has to do with the parents and their families and keeping up with their high school scores and understanding how their season's going. So that way when they do come to campus, we know how their season's going. If they got injured or things like that. So we're just doing the behind-the-scenes work, kind of talking to their parents. That way when they come to campus, we're somebody that they are familiar with.
Very good. You mentioned game day for some of these recruits. What is the game day experience like for a TCU football recruit?
Right. So it's considered an unofficial visit. So these guys are invited by our coaches and our recruiting staff. We reach out to them, the guys that are local, obviously. But they come out to campus. We put on a recruiting event pregame. So we feed them. We have some games set up. We have some other games on. And then we will take them down onto the sidelines pregame. They get to watch warm-ups, kind of shake hands with coaches, get to interact with some of the players. And then we actually give them tickets to the game. So they get to enjoy the game as a prospect of TCU.
How large a group are you dealing with typically?
So last week for Texas Tech, we actually hosted our largest group yet, and we had about 300 people total. So we allocate those tickets to the guys that are signed up. But obviously, we have to pick and choose. There's so many kids that do want to come, so we have to pick and choose who gets those tickets. And so it's also really exciting because we get to see those kids week in, week out, getting to interact with them, and they're familiar with us when they come to campus too.
Where are these guys sitting typically when they watch games? They get good seats?
Yeah, they do. So they actually sit right behind the tunnel. So like right above the tunnel in the end zone. They're getting to see our guys run out. They are actually standing by the tunnel when they stand on their pregame. And then we send them right back up into the seats and they get to watch the game.
And you mentioned an unofficial visit earlier. What is the difference for us that don't know between an unofficial visit and an official visit? How do you differentiate the two?
So an unofficial visit is where the recruit and his family have to pay their way to come to campus. So typically I put together a visit that, entails how they meet with their coaches, and they get the campus tour. They usually get the very condensed version of what an official visit looks like. An official visit is where we pay for everything. So we put them up in a nice hotel downtown. We get to take them to fun dinners. We get to plan out some fun events for them, and really show them the real feel of TCU and what it's like to be here in Fort Worth.
Very nice. And Lauren, I assume you're a student at TCU. What are you currently studying and what year?
I'm actually not a student. So I graduated from the University of North Texas.
Okay.
I finished my master's a couple years ago. So I'm originally from Aledo, though, and I grew up here in Fort Worth. And so working here at TCU has been a dream. I'm a little far removed from TCU now, but I've really enjoyed being here with Coach Dykes and his staff.
Well, we're glad to have you part of the family. That is Lauren Craine, Director of On-Campus Recruiting for TCU Football. Thank you, Lauren, very much.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back with your head coach, Sonny Dykes, on State of the Frogs.
Welcome to the Squire Shop.
We are locally owned and operated since 1994.
We specialize in the finest men's clothing that the market has to offer at affordable prices with unbelievable service.
We do custom clothing all the way to more casual, Peter Millar, Johnny O, kind of everything. Well, my dad's the owner, so I've been around retail my whole life. Oh, it's great. I mean, it's the best boss I'll ever have. I know that.
We love our TCU community. They have been so good to us. Come see us today. Go Frogs!
Welcome back to State of the Frogs with your head coach, Sonny Dykes. Coach, the weather's turned colder. It's Oklahoma State week, a very look forward to game earlier in the year. Oklahoma State's struggling mightily. Their defense, obviously one of their big issues at the time. They yet to win a conference game, but obviously this is an exciting game for us and for you guys, I think.
Yeah, it's a big football game, important game for our program. We got a chance to get bowl eligible, go to a bowl game. I think it would be our second bowl appearance since 2019, which would be big for our program just to get those extra opportunities to practice. And so that part's obviously important. It's important to our players. These guys want to have a great season, and we want to end strong. This is a good football team we're playing. They haven't played very well. They've lost 6 games in a row, but you turn the film on, and it's basically the same team that played in the Pac-12 or the Big 12 championship game last year. I mean, it's pretty amazing. They've got the running back back. I think 4 of the 5 offensive linemen, got the quarterback back, receivers back. On an offense that was one of the best in the Big 12 last season. And then you've got a defense that's really big up front, a bunch of guys that can run on the back end, really solid on special teams, great return game. You have a team that's a very, very dangerous football team and have been in every single game virtually this season at halftime. Did a great job early rallying and beating Arkansas. West Virginia is the only game that they played really this year that they weren't in the game in the fourth quarter. BYU had to rally late to beat them in Provo. So it's a very, very capable football team, a team that, again, when you look at the tape, you would expect that they would be right in the hunt for the Big 12 championship, and such just the way it is.
Right. You mentioned the quarterback coming back. We're talking about Bowman is back for the game.
Yeah, expect to see Bowman. They played a young guy last week that's a little bit more of a runner, and
Smith,
we might see a little bit of him as well. Good player, and watched his high school tape a little bit to see kind of what his skill set is, and Didn't get to see a lot of them last week, but led them on a scoring drive late against Arizona State. So, you know, the Big 12 is a crazy league. I mean, it's just week in, week out. These games are coming down to one possession over and over and over again. You've got, you know, substantial underdogs winning. You know, it's Houston last week beat Kansas State, which was obviously a big game. Texas Tech goes on the road and beats Iowa State and Ames. I mean, it just happens every single week in the Big 12, and it's just a competitive league. So you have to play well. You got to play your best. We got to do a good job protecting the ball. We got to do a good job stopping the run. You know, they're going to run the football until we make them stop, and it's going to be important for us to not give up big plays because they're an explosive offense.
Right. The running back, we're talking about Ollie Gordon, who's a tremendous talent. Had a kind of maybe a lesser of a year than he expected, but tremendous talent nonetheless.
Yeah. You know, one of the top running backs in the country returning from last season, and same thing. I mean, again, he's the same guy, and many of the offensive line are the same players, and so they're certainly capable of getting it going because they did it over and over last year. So seems like it's been kind of a strange year for those guys, but again, very, very capable team that you know, is very talented.
All right, guy, I think I know you know well, Mike Gundy. What can you tell us about Coach Gundy?
Yeah, you know, Mike is 18 years bowl eligible in a row, which is really pretty remarkable. You have to appreciate his consistency with that program. You know, no one's ever done that really at Oklahoma State, and you know, year in, year out, they're going to have a good football team, and they're going to be competitive. They're going to play hard. This team hasn't had a lot of success recently, but they are playing hard every week, and that's a testament to him and you know what it means to play at Oklahoma State, and their players understand that, and you know they're used to winning, and so you know we're going to get a team that's going to come in here and play really, really hard and play physical and has nothing to lose.
Right. A couple of Oklahoma State coaches I wanted to ask you about because they're personal to me, but Stan Egan was my defensive line coach when I played here, one of their offensive assistants, I believe.
Yeah, Stan's working with the D-line, and so Stan, I worked with him at La Tech, one of my favorite people of all time, you know, really close to the Egan family, great people, and, you know, really, really outstanding football coach. Tons of energy, a lot of experience. Has coached some of the best D linemen, you know, guys that are in the NFL or had Hall of Fame careers. I mean, he's coached a lot of good players.
Right. Chris Thurman's another one that I know from my old days.
Yeah, Chris, really highly regarded coach. I mean, they got a really good staff there at Oklahoma State. I mean, Sean Snyder, Bill Snyder's son's the special teams coordinator, and he's one of the best in the country. So really, really good football staff that they've got there. You know, excellent coaches, a lot of experience, and you know, and they'll play well Saturday, I'm sure.
And the last one, a young guy named Sean Taylor. I got to coach his team in high school at Fort Worth All Saints, but he played quarterback at Oklahoma State, and now he's one of your assistants.
Yeah. So there's a lot of crossover between the two coaching staffs. A lot of guys have known each other forever. Yeah, Sean's a young coach for us, does a great job. Was a quarterback at Oklahoma State, and you know, grew up here in Fort Worth, and knows a lot of the players and kind of what's going on around the program.
All right, Coach. 6 p.m. Amon Carter. One win to go to the bowl game. It's an important one. The weather's colder, like we talked about. We're all ready for it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think our guys are excited. You know, I like our team. I think we're starting to mature and you know, and to play more consistently, and hopefully we'll continue that trend and play well this week. And you know, it's going to be a heck of a ball game. We're going to need our fans to come out and support us and create an environment at Amon Carter Stadium that's tough to overcome.
For sure. And you told us weeks ago this is going to come down to the last week for the Big 12, and it seems to be the case with everything that's going on, like you said. So.
Yeah. It's just it's a crazy time right now in the Big 12, and everybody's pretty good, and anybody can beat anybody on any Saturday. So it's kind of that way across college football. If you look around the landscape of college football, there's no undefeated teams in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, there's just very few teams that aren't getting knocked off week after week, and so it's very competitive. You know, it's an interesting time right now for college football, I think, because of the transfer portal, and it's kind of even a lot of things out.
Well, appreciate the time as always, Coach. Thank you very much. That's State of the Frogs with your head coach, Sonny Dykes. Until next time.
Roxo Media House.